Welcome to the Stronger Together podcast brought to you by Sandpoint Strength and Conditioning. Today, I'm joined by Lissa Markwardt, aka my mom. She is awesome. I think if you've met her, you know that. And she's also legitimately the reason that this all exists. So, you'll hear about more of that. Hear more about that in the podcast itself. But just pretty darn cool. I feel very fortunate to have her support, guidance, and coaching to enable me and also Jenn to have done what we did as far as move across the country, start the gym, start our businesses, do all the things that we have done. So, yeah, looking forward to you hearing this conversation with us. As a reminder, this podcast is brought to you by Momentous Supplements. You can get 15% off Momentous by using the discount code Sandpoint Strength, all one word. And that is at livemomentous.com. All right. Enjoy. Mom.
Kenny.
Welcome to the podcast.
I'm excited.
I always, as a joke, kind of a common refrain of your first clients or your mom and your family or whatever. I think we're 20 some odd episodes in before I had you on. So sorry for the delay here, but welcome.
That's okay. You know me, I'm always on the road anyway, so I'm glad you caught me.
Yeah. And on that note, though, on the first clients in the business thing, you were there on day one, and 13 years ago, 13 and a half years ago, or whatever it is now.
Yes.
And you're still in there kicking.
Still in there kicking. If I have to be completely honest, I think it was Jenn and I and your dog Addie.
Yep.
I think we were your first clients.
Yeah, and I think Allison Kellogg was in there. I think we have pictures of that, actually. I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In that little tiny room.
Yep.
And, it wasn't a format I was used to. And I thought, I'm going to let Kenny get this off the ground. I'm going to support him through this. And then I'm out of here. I'm going back to doing my own routine.
Yeah, and I believe there's a story about jump roping in there that I don't think you were. I know you're not a big fan. Jump roping's not on your list.
No.
And I think I had a pretty typical offhanded that's what we're doing or something. So
something to the effect we're jump roping. So you're jump roping.
Mom, get in line. It's just you and Jenn, but we're gonna do this officially.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna treat you just like anybody else.
Yep.
Yeah, I probably ran to SWAC that day.
Right afterwards. Yeah, that's right.
Out there.
Yes. Yeah. But you're still here, so that's great.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of directions I want to take this thing. So, but for one, your fitness, I mean, you're still kicking ass. You're still skiing. How many days do you ski this year?
I think I'm at 65.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Trying new sports, picking up mountain biking, wake surfing. You are. Yeah. What else? What else was on that list? I think you're. Oh, did you paraglide ski this year? Is that right?
Paraglide ski. That was a definite something everybody needs to try. I mean, it was amazing. It was as close to flying as I think you can get without actually having your own wings.
Yeah, with skis on.
Yes, with skis on. But you can do without skis as well. But it was so cool to just go down the hill and all of a sudden the parachute comes up and the next thing you know, you're up in the air and you're up above the mountains and the trees and very cool.
Yeah. But I mean, the recognizable thing there is you are still saying yes to all these cool adventures. When I say still, I think it's such an interesting dichotomy because I don't see you as at an age that, because I witnessed you doing those things. I don't feel like you're at an age where you wouldn't, but the juxtaposition with people who are also your age, who are not even close, who gave up any of that stuff 30 years before, it's pretty cool. So just from my perspective, it's very inspirational. I feel very fortunate to be following in those footsteps. But what's your sense of where does that come from? How do you?
Well, there's probably two answers to that one. And I'm going to go to the short one first, is that I have a very strong sense of FOMO, and I don't want to miss anything.
Yep.
I mean, it's a very strong addiction of mine. But I mean, the majority of the time, everything that I try, um, that I haven't done before, I usually like it. I mean, if I have some sort of an attraction to it because it's either physical or exciting or, you know, beautiful or whatever, it's really compelling, and it just drives me to want to do more.
Yeah.
But I have to say that my biggest motivation was because of the fact that your dad died so young.
Yeah.
And I just took that message for my own life and said, you know, we never know how much time we get, and we only get this one shot, and might as well squeeze as much out of life as we can and just go for it as often and as enthusiastically as you can. So I think those are the two things. And it really has served me a lot, I think, to kind of just have that willingness and that awareness of the fact that, you know, life does not go on forever.
Yeah.
And also the other thing is that as we all get older, it just gets easier and easier to let things fall off the plate, and they don't have to. I think as long as you keep doing things, you don't have to stop doing things. But if you stop doing them, it's really hard to get back in the game.
Yeah. Yeah. And you haven't stopped, which is cool. The FOMO thing, I totally identify with, and I mean, you've watched me get antsy and
Oh,
get like, I
yes.
gotta go, I gotta do, I gotta whatever. And I think that there's a lot of that to me too, where I think whether it's at the surface level of a recognition or not, I realize like this is a day, like this is on the scorecard, like it's gonna get crossed off, like this is a day that I have, and uh, I don't know. Again, in the moment, I don't think that I'm chomping at the bit to go make the most of the day, but I think there is a definite feeling of whatever. This is an opportunity to go do something, so let's make the best of it.
Yeah.
Uh,
And to just kind of always have something on the horizon. I mean, I know that there's always something that's coming up next that, you know, I'm excited about, or I always feel like I have to have one thing kind of out there that is calling my name, and, you know, just keeping me excited and enthusiastic to get to do that.
yeah, that's great. Because I mean, the fitness isn't the thing for you; it's a supportive thing. Like I think you've always done that, but I don't recall a time where you ever like I'm trying to do fitness to win fitness, like whether it was a race or whether it was a trying to be the strongest person. I think you've always just done it as a supporting mechanism. But
Yeah.
has that been kind of the like, okay, well, there's this whole, I always want to be ready for the next thing, or what's your kind of fitness? What's the reason for it?
Well, I think, yeah, you know, I've never been really a competitive athlete. I think it's more just the enjoyment of either like riding my bike so I can go to places that I wouldn't be able to go in a car, or walking or whatever. I
Yeah.
think it's really, yeah, I think it's a vehicle for which to do the things that I really love to do. And again, as we all get older, I watch people that don't exercise and aren't conscientious about their fitness and their strength, and their conditioning, is that the simplest things become scary. I mean, like, especially like living in Sandpoint, Idaho, walking from your car into anything that you want to do can be frightening if you don't have the strength to kind of recover if you find yourself like slipping or like you're going to go down. I mean, it's as simple as that. As I think it's, you just have to be continuously conscientious about, you've got muscles, use them, and they will serve you and allow you to do a lot of things that are so enjoyable, and you don't have to worry about little things
Yeah.
like falling down.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you take the risk. You could ride a mountain bike, ski, hang glide, paraglide, all the cool stuff.
Yeah. Well, I have to say the mountain biking thing, I've taken it down a notch.
Yeah. But I mean, to get on the horse for lack of a better phrase, like you
Yeah.
did it, you tried it, you fell, and that wasn't catastrophic. But the people that don't follow your example, that's a broken hip or whatever it is,
Right.
and without being prepared for that, you don't have the opportunity to say yes, I'm going to try this.
Right.
And if you do try it and you fall, the stat you read, outlive. I think there's
Yep.
that stat in there where the 5-year survival rate after a hip replacement is like less than 50% or something. I probably messed that up, but it's
Yeah.
quite substantial. And it's not because you broke your hip, it's because you lose independence and the surgery's hard on you. And, you're not nearly in that spot.
Yeah, and
Because
I think psychologically you find yourself in a position where you're telling yourself, I can't do that anymore. I
yeah,
can't do that anymore.
yeah,
And I think that wears on people. And I think that makes aging disillusioning
yeah,
because um because there is that voice in your head saying, oh, I can't do that anymore. And it doesn't have to be that way. So if you just
totally.
kind of step up to the plate and then I know this is your soapboxes, just do something, start somewhere and keep it going so that you can feel better as you get older and make the most out of it, because I think the alternative doesn't sound very good.
No, no, no way. And I think that's another point that you live and embody is like that doesn't mean you have to be perfect year round. It doesn't mean you have to be in the gym 3 to 5 days a week year round. Like you go in seasons. You have seasons where
Yep.
you travel, you have seasons where you do other stuff, and you're not in the gym very often, but then there's seasons where you are. But it's not
Right.
you've not failed at fitness. It's just that's the seasons of life that you're in. And again, I think that's so much of the example that I wish more people would recognize, because I think they stop during a season and they figure, well, I'm never going to start again, and so that's just what it is. So
Yeah. Yeah. Or it's like whenever I travel, I'll take some bands or something that I can do resistance exercises, or I stay where there's a gym and it's like I'll give up an hour to go work out of my vacation time so I can feel better while I am vacationing.
yeah,
And, I think that being conscientious, it's so funny because I was thinking about this, that when I was in second grade, I had my PE teacher, Mr. Armstrong. Um, he told us all that if we just exercise every day for the rest of our life, that will give us the best quality of life. And he was so inspirational about it that I don't think I've ever stopped since second grade. And I was like, I wish he was around so I could thank him, but it
yeah,
was really to have it ingrained in what my habits are at that such a young age is it really has been a good thing. And I think I've felt better my whole life because of it. And I think he was right.
yeah. No kidding. Wish
Yeah,
there was more Mr. Armstrongs running around.
exactly. Well, you're doing it. And I love the fact that you are working with younger kids so they don't end up with the bad habits of lifting and, posture and all those other things that, gosh, to get them started already where it's just kind of, they don't even have to think about it is amazing.
Yeah, it's such a good gift. And ironically enough, Garrison came home from school today. I was in the middle of something, and he's like, "I'm gonna go work out." I was like, "Wow, all right." So he went and walked the dog with a weight vest on. Probably looked like a psychopath because he has my like what looks like a bulletproof vest. He was walking around town as an 11-year-old with the dog. But
Yeah.
again, but the point of it is like he's seen the example from you, from me, from Jen, from like he just recognizes that exercise is important, and so he went and did that.
Yes. At one time I had somebody say to me that I was exercise addicted, and I looked at her like, is that a bad thing?
Yeah, right.
It was like literally, she was like, well, you're giving up time to be with, the family while they're having a cup of coffee and breakfast to go and work out. I was like, yeah, I think that's okay.
Oh, I'd love to compare the trajectories of I don't know who this was, but where she is, where you are, and
Yeah.
what with the amount of time that you've purchased through that time,
Yeah.
45 minutes or an hour away from the family, whether or not they were we were around or not,
Yes.
um, that you've been able to purchase for spending time doing things like skiing. Like I've skied with you, dang near most of the days I've been up on the mountain this year with Garrison. We wake, there's so much time we get to do cool things together,
Yeah.
and appear to be continuing to be able to do for many, many years, which is amazing. But I imagine she's not in that boat. So unfortunately,
Absolutely not. After the show, I'll tell you who it is.
good deal. Perfect. But
It's
that's,
a
I mean,
deal.
again, so just to kind of or reinforce the idea, like you are getting to go to do such cool things with Garrison too. I mean, he at 11, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of people come in and talk about like, I want to be able to do cool things with my grandkids, and you're
Mm,
doing that, and that's I think that there's a lot of intention behind it, but I don't know how many people actually follow through with it. So it's pretty neat to see you two goofballs screwing around, doing
yeah.
whatever it is.
Sometimes I feel like I'm his age, which is a good thing.
Yeah, no,
Sort
yeah,
of.
yeah,
We can get in trouble, but yeah, and I do. I know so many people that are on the verge of just having grandkids, and yeah, I have a feeling that with their fitness level where they are, they'll end up sitting on the couch and watching TV and feeding them. I mean, which is all, they're all beautiful things, but you know, I love being able to get out there and ride bikes with Garrison or ski with him or, do whatever crazy things we come up with. Polar bear plunges. I mean, yeah, it's just it's so much fun, and I don't think Garrison will forget those things. And I think that will also help him with his longevity of exercise and fitness
yeah.
goals. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, I mean, he has an absolute, and it's not just a like, yeah, we're gonna go watch. You guys do watch movies and stuff, and he gets plenty spoiled. But I think that's the image that people have of grandparenthood is they go over and get fed sugar and watch TV while Grandpa goes to bed. You guys are
Yes,
off jumping off bridges and do whatever
exactly. That,
wacky.
yes.
So
And
that's
Garrison is good about encouraging me. So that's the other thing, is that he doesn't see it any other way. He's
yeah,
like, of course you can do that stuff.
right. And like you said, it'll hopefully trickle down, and whenever the heck he becomes a grandparent, and hopefully many, many
Yes.
decades from now.
Yeah. Yeah. You've got a ways before that happens,
Yeah,
for sure.
yeah, cool. Uh, another kind of switching topics. I think that you kind of alluded to with a friend, not, oh, that maybe I won't even go that way, but the support that you've given me and Jen for our ventures has been instrumental. I mean, not only instrumental, but we couldn't have done it without you for what we've been able to do. And that's not common. Like, I do think that it can be, but I think that the like unwavering support of like, hey, this is what you want to do, go do it, even if there's a chorus of voices saying it's stupid, or even if you have internal doubts. Like, I see that so often for people, they kind of transpose their own fears and concerns and
Hmm.
on their close loved ones, and hold them back for, I don't know, whatever it is. Like, I think they're doing the right thing,
Yeah.
but you've been so good about not only allowing us to do whatever wacky thing, moving from Southern California, coming up here and starting businesses and making you jump rope. Um, but you've encouraged us through it and really like nourished and enriched the experience for us, coaching us through it. So like, what's that like? I mean, maybe we can tell the story, but like, that's a pretty powerful thing for you to be able to give to your kids. Like, how do people do that better? Like, what's your perspective on that?
Well, again, I think your perspective always comes from your own life experience. And I know when I was in high school and I had to make a decision about where I was going to go to college and what I thought I might want to do for a career, I had zero idea.
Mhm.
Zero. I thought for sure I was absent on the day that they handed out the cards and told everybody what they were supposed to do. And I just felt so lost. Um, I think it's the first time in a kid's life when they have to make a really big decisions that will influence their life.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I ended up in education because I realized that I liked helping people, and I loved summers off, and I wanted to travel. And I got a degree in physical education because I knew the value of that. So I had kind of the right components, but I had to wait till I got to college for somebody to kind of walk me through that. So once I kind of had some interest and passion in what I was doing, then I felt like I could trust myself to move forward and make decisions for myself. Instead of, when I was in that stage where I could not figure out what I was going to do, I asked everybody, what should I do?
Yeah.
What would I be good at? Because I thought somebody outside of me would be able to recognize it.
Yeah.
And I totally, the biggest lesson I got from that whole experience was that the only person that really knows was me.
Yeah.
And so then ironically, I ended up in career development and did that for 30 years. And I would constantly see parents coming to me and saying, my son needs to go to Stanford. And I would say, well, why does your son need to go to Stanford? Because they'll get a good education there. Well, what does your child want to get an education in? Well, it doesn't matter. They just need to go to Stanford. And so it was kind of like, I just became acutely aware of the fact that you really need to kind of look inside as to what excites you? What are you passionate about? What do you want to know more about? What can you not stop learning about?
Mm.
And so I feel like with you guys, you knew your draw to come to Sandpoint came number one because you found yourself in a career that was not satisfying, and so I think that started your search for, well, what else am I going to do? And then it was, well, what about if we move to Sandpoint? And I said, yay, because I just happened to have you on my vision board. So thank you. I can make sure that happens.
Yeah.
And I think you had it on your vision board too. So
Yep.
you can't say that stuff doesn't work. But it was really more that I just wanted you guys to be able to experience like a different side of working where it felt peaceful and was allowed to satisfy your whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I think that's really where my base of support. And I know you went down a lot of roads, from personal training to physical therapy to graphic design to business management to accounting. I mean, and you looked at me one day and you go, Mom, I'm never going to figure this out. And I said, you're interested in these things for a reason. Something synergistically is going to come together for you. And then the next thing you know, here you are buying kettlebells and getting an opportunity to coach at a CrossFit gym. And it did. And I love, you're probably my most stellar example of bringing various passions and interests into one thing and being able to run with all of them, with all those balls in the air.
Well, thanks.
No, I mean, that was huge. And I know that when you were trying each one of those things out, you're like, oh, I guess I'm not going to go into graphic design, or I'm not going to go into physical therapy, or, and it was like, and that was frustrating. But to find that you could finally come up with something that encapsulates and maximizes on all of those that is like one of my most satisfying observances of all. I love it.
Well, thanks.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the difference I'm so fortunate to, I would call you all the time and just ask you for help and cry and be so miserable about what I was doing. And I mean, I think the difference between what you would do is like you would listen and you'd encourage, and then you'd say, yeah, cool, like try this other thing or do this. And I think that it's very tempting, now Garrison's not quite at this point, but I can see where it'd be tempting for a parent to be like, look, you just got to stick with something because some of this shit's just going to figure itself out and it won't be so bad down the line, but you got to I think it's a hard thing to comprehend the like stick to itiveness on the, like, it's just going to, like, you just got to stay. Uh, but also knowing that there might be something better out there and wondering where the boundary, not so the boundaries, but how do you best guide your kids to
Yeah.
not just being a vagabond weirdo that doesn't ever get settled. You know what I mean? Like, I think it's
Yeah.
like at a certain rate, because when I left paychecks, Jen was in a good job. I was in technically a good job. We were making really good money for being
Right.
25 years old. Had, started contributing to retirements, had insurance. I mean, we were kind of on a
Mm.
traditionally successful path. I
Yep.
think that, and the literal voices that you heard were like, he cannot leave this job. Like, that's the craziest thing he's ever going to do, to go pack it all up and move to small town North Idaho without a real solid plan. Like, again, I think those people who were saying that I think they legitimately had my best interest at heart, but,
Of course.
um, to guide your kid in a way that says, yeah, I don't know, give it a whirl. Like, what's the worst that could happen? It
Yeah.
just seems that's just, I don't know. I think it's counterintuitive for some parents. So
Oh, well, I got a lot of flack from
yeah,
the family on that one because it was, what is Kenny doing? He just got married. He's moving his wife to some small town in Sandpoint. He's leaving a great job with all the benefits, just like everything you said. And I never had one doubt in my mind that you were doing the absolute right thing. And again, it goes back to your dad's experience. He went down the traditional path
mm,
of that wasn't his personality whatsoever to
mm,
be working for Ecolab. But it was, again, we got married, we had you, we needed to have a steady income and opportunities for advancement and promotions and bonuses and blah blah blah, and all the benefits. But I also saw how that kept your dad stuck in a job that he literally hated.
yeah,
And I mean, of course, there were certain things about it that made it palatable. But then when I saw you going down the same path, and you crossed your arms on the dock and you go, I'm going to be a good provider just like dad was. And I was like, okay, let's see how long that lasts for you.
yeah,
And you did. You gave it a very, very valiant effort. But I think I mean, I know from pretty much very early on, you knew that was not the road you wanted to travel.
no, yeah, for sure.
I
In fact,
mean,
I think, yeah, it was,
painstakingly so.
yeah, I think it was kind of a negotiation of like, let's get through this week and let's get through that week and try and give it a, like, I had set a timeline of like 2 years where I said, I got to give this that. And then, which I think in a lot of ways could have been a big downfall, because then you get to kind of like crumb along the way, and all of a sudden 2 years becomes 5 years,
A
becomes 10
hundred
years, becomes,
percent.
and then you're leaving more money on the table and you're leaving more opportunity and you're leaving more. It's, I think I was really fortunate to have gotten out of there when I did without having the golden handcuffs get even tighter.
Well, it's epidemic. I mean, it is literally. There's always something out there to get you to stay, and it's like I say to so many of my clients, I go, "What is that paycheck costing you?"
Mm,
It's like, yeah, it's got all the monetary value and all the security attached to it, but at the end of the day, like, what does that stress feel like in your body, and the thoughts that you have in your head about, I hate what I'm doing, I'm not good at what I'm doing. I mean, it just kind of, it robs you of all those years. And so I'm so grateful that you had the courage to load up your vehicles, drive up here, land on my doorstep, and go like, now we have no idea what we're gonna do. I
yep.
was like, yeah, but you know what? You're young enough, you can figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
that's true. That's a good part of the story too, because we planned on taking the summer off, because we got there in June, and we said, well, let's enjoy the summer, and then we'll brainstorm. And I think we figured that 3 or 4 months later we'd have something figured out, which we did. But it was not fun. It was.
No, no. I watched you guys. I mean, it's classic. It's a classic part of change and doing something like that. But when you're the one in it, it's horrible.
Yeah.
You cannot see your way out of it. You're just like, what did we do?
Yep.
And so, but every day I saw a glimmer. I think one of the worst moments was, I think you were up at like 4, 5 o'clock in the morning and getting ready to go to work at Monarch Coffee.
Yeah, he'll be in the
And
barista.
I said, have a great day. And you go, Mom, I'm a barista. I'm making $7 an hour.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I left paychecks. I think I was making like 70 grand a year or something like that. So it was a little bit of a step down. And then what I realized too, there's like the stress, like it's just workplace. If you don't like what you're doing, it doesn't necessarily matter. Like that it's supposed to be low pressure. It's just, there's still people are kind of, I don't know. So yeah. I remember that.
Yeah, no, that was not, I'm sure those were not the most joyful times that you've ever had in Sandpoint. That was a rough start for sure.
Yes. Yep.
But you know what? Again, I think you are a great testimony to people because, so many people just keep going down that line and then they start looking forward to retirement. Yeah. That's the only, it's like there's always a carrot, and then it's going to be, well, then I'm going to retire. And then they keep putting retirement further out there. And then the next thing you know, you're, 68 years old and you don't know what to do with yourself because you've wasted so much time pouring your heart and soul into a job that you don't love and not taking care of yourself and not paying attention to the things that you really want to experience in life. And so, that's why I think you guys are a really good role model for other people that just know that that's not the path for them. Just do it. It might suck for a while, but it's, you'll figure it out. Yeah.
It's easy to say too, but it's very hard to execute on. And I think that further you get down the path, again, had I been at my age with a son and with the thing, like it would have been harder to blow it all up and start over. Yeah. But still worthwhile, but still hard for sure. So,
but I remember when you were leaving, and I think you might have announced it at an office meeting or something like that. And you were really, really surprised at everybody's responses.
Well, I don't remember that.
They basically said, like, "Oh my God, I can't believe you're doing what I really want to do."
Oh yeah.
They all had it. They all had ideas of doing it, but you went with it, and they all had envy that they didn't have the courage to do it. So I thought that was, a very remarkable point for you to take on your road up to Sandpoint. So
yeah,
I imagine some of those people are probably still working at Paychecks.
I actually think one still is. Yeah. So it's been 14 years and probably in retirement. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Ironically, sorry, go ahead.
Well, even, I think your point was, if you had a young kid and, you wanted to make that venture, I still think you can make it happen. I mean, you see a lot of people moving here and doing the same thing. And I think it's just kind of realizing that it is possible to make a big change or do something that you maybe you don't even know what it is, but you try to figure it out and you get out there and you have the same enthusiasm and passion for figuring it out as you would for, like if you were actually in a job doing it. I think that's a big secret to it.
Yeah. And I think recognizing the different paths that you can take I think there's a lot more appreciation for the now without completely, ruining your future, which I think, again, there's some like nuance to that. Like having the plan, but still recognizing like we're just, like you said, during COVID and everybody hopped in the vans and took to the road and started homeschooling kids and doing different things. And
Yeah.
it turned out to not be for everybody, but there turned out to be for a lot of people. And I think that more and more people realize that these are like the times that they have now are worth a hell of a lot more than the
Yeah.
times that they might have in the future or might not have in the future,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
100%.
So,
And, and I think, another thing that I think you guys are really good role models about is doing, incorporating your work life into the lifestyle that you want to live. I mean,
mm,
you get your hunting done, Jen gets her traveling done, and I think that um, all in all, you guys have a really good role model. And I think that when we talked about it many, many years ago, I think you called it intermittent retirement, which I think is brilliant. I think, it's like go run at what you want in between, doing work that you are enjoying. And what a great balance,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, for sure. That's a lot of what I try and coach some of the people I work with on too is like find something that you could work the rest of your life. Like that's just some passion. Like I could see doing this for the rest of my life,
Right.
but then having a plan for if you decide to not. I think there's a good balance. Like it's not one too far not one, too far in one of those other categories. It's probably a pretty good balance for most people. Um,
Yes.
and then knowing that it
100%.
might change too. So
Yeah. But a lot of people don't give themselves permission to do that either,
yeah, for sure.
you know? Um, and it's, I think one of the things, like, as a career and a life coach, now my emphasis is on, how can you get the things that you have dreamt about while you were sitting at your desk all these years, like daydreaming about, well, if I didn't have to be here, what would I be doing? And then all of a sudden people get to that retirement age and then they don't act on those things, or they've
Yeah.
forgotten what they were, or they don't feel like doing them. So I think that no matter what age it is that you do get an opportunity to do that, that you know you don't forget those things that you really want to experience in life.
Yeah. I think the irony too is that I don't think that a lot of people actually want to. I don't know how well people do with full blown retirement either. I think
Right.
people get idle and then they go crazy.
Yes, 100%. I think especially men.
Yeah, for sure.
I think that because it becomes such a part of their identity and that role that they're playing, that it's really hard to shift gears, um, and to not have the acknowledgement and the recognition and things like that. So yeah, I think it's something that everybody could definitely like make it to structure it somewhat so that it doesn't get forgotten, and it does become. And I think you were the one that, and I don't remember what you read, but how you um, like you think about your lifespan. And so let's say somebody's going to pass it, they think they would pass around 86 or so, then you just backward plan, like what do you want to fit in from this time in your life until when you do pass, and look at 2 year increments. And I think that that is brilliant because by the time I'm 85, 86, then I'm going to watch all those Netflix shows I haven't been able to don't give myself time to watch, but it's still on the agenda. I can still do that. I don't have to watch them right now.
Yeah.
So, I think you just kind of have to look at where you are on the hill and plan accordingly so that you can, make sure you get some of the things that you want to get done, and just have so much fun doing it, just playing with the ideas of what you want to do,
Yeah.
because there's so many things you can do these days, and you just get on the internet and do a little playing around and you can find all sorts of great opportunities.
Yeah. And like you acknowledge for yourself, like you kind of always have the next thing to look forward to.
Right.
And it's not, I think that there's a little bit of you get a little taste along the way of the next thing. And then you finish that up and you get the next thing. And I think like in the context of the retirement, I think so many people put that out. It's like, okay, well, this grand exit's going to happen in 30 years where I get to do this thing.
Yes.
and then again, they might not make it. They might make it, and it might not be nearly what they had hoped, and they might end up, wobbling across the finish line. It's like so many of those marathon low light reels where people kind of have to get carried across. They might make it across there, and then that finish line is not nearly as sweet as they wanted.
No, exactly. And, and I think the other thing that happens for people too is the routine of working, just having that get up, get dressed, go to work, have lunch, do your afternoon of work, go home. That new people retire, and this is what I see happen all the time: is people get up, they get dressed, they have breakfast, they watch TV, they go to the grocery store, and their day just becomes the mundane things because they don't have any time pressure
Mm-hmm.
to squeeze things into, they've got an 8 hour day or whatever, and they've got to fit all these. So time just elongates.
Yeah.
It takes them longer. And then their new routine is doctor's appointments, grocery store. And so it's like, just like speed things up a little bit. And put your 8 hours of effort into like things that you really want to do. I mean,
Yeah. It's like the day before vacation thing. Like you can do a lot in the window that you give yourself. Like you might have a small window where you don't think you get everything done before you pack your bags and go.
yes,
You always do. And I think that if you give yourself, there's a phrase for this, I think, but it's like the amount of time you give something is the amount of time it's going to take.
yep,
Um, and so
absolutely true.
I think the same thing with like not having the purpose. Again, so I think that the idea of not having to work is enticing for a lot of people at some point, but I don't know if like not having that purpose is like maybe it's worth fulfilling or finding that purpose, that thing that you would do if you had all the time in the world, and then trying to figure out how to do that now.
Right, exactly. And and your purpose can shift or more for whatever as you have more ample time to pursue it too. I mean, a lot of people that have been doing basically kind of what they might describe as purposeless work is, I mean, what a great opportunity when you're further down the road, you're done working, you can finally like give something with your, all your heart and soul to a cause or something that means a lot to you. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, again, just Googling volunteer opportunities or volunteering abroad. I mean, there are so many fun things to do.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really good awareness opportunity to just explore and get some enthusiasm for things like that.
Yeah. So is that that's a good segue. Like, what is your recommendation for somebody in that position, regardless of stage in life, but they don't know what they would want to do different? Like, they just know that the going to the coal mine every day is not for them,
Right.
but they're not sure what else to do instead. Like, what's your first piece of advice?
So you mean like because they have time because they're going to retire or
Oh,
because
sorry. Yeah,
they're,
I segued pretty hard without acknowledging
okay.
it. So say they're that person, like this is like, yeah, I'm that person. I'm living to retire. Like I'm doing this thing I hate, and I'm just gonna try and eke it out until retirement. But what you're saying sounds like it makes a hell of a lot of sense, and I don't want to suffer for the next 25 years.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
so what do you tell that person? Like what should they do if they don't
Well,
know what they want to do instead?
yeah. I'm kind of a big fan of like categorizing things and like saying travel. Like say, I think most people want to do some traveling, and that can be anything from around the world on a cruise ship to going to Montana and going backpacking. I mean, so to just kind of take something like that and brainstorm, where would you want to travel? Just write down as many places as come to mind or what kind of experience that you want to have there. Or there's a lot of opportunities for, like if you Google it, there's so many different causes out there that people that they need assistance with in other countries. So that's a great way to be able to combine things. So another thing is maybe you've always wanted to be a better cook, or you wanted to learn different techniques. You can just pursue, like, what are some cooking classes out there? What about that master class program? And there's just, I think it's really opening up your mind and just brainstorming ideas, or talking with somebody, your family, or people that know you well, and just like have some fun with thinking about what do you want to do. And some people also already have a cause in mind that they have always felt passionate about, and maybe this is the opportunity to get to step up to the plate and actually do something to help out. So there's a lot
Sorry,
of
this is in terms of
activities.
another occupation. So this is
Oh,
they have to. They're in an occupation they don't want, but
oh,
they need to earn an income.
right.
What's their like? How do they pull themselves out of that and get a new start, even if they don't know exactly what they want to do?
Yeah. Well, I think it's the number one thing is to just start talking to people about what other people do, and noticing what holds your attention, and what are the qualities of it. Like with you, I think there were so many different career areas that you combined, and none of them held enough interest for you independently.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got the opportunity to pull them all together, then it made sense to you. And then it came to life for you.
Yeah.
So I think that the is to just open your eyes and look and see what's out there, and think about what are the things that you can't stop learning about?
Yeah.
What are the things you can't stop, like you can't not watch TV about? What is it that like, what do you want to look at when you're on Facebook or on Instagram? I mean, what are the things that you're just naturally drawn to? And that don't try to attach a certain career to it. It's just like, just be interested and fascinated by where you could go or what you could do with it. And then get a little bit closer by I'm a big fan of just sitting on the computer and just Googling whatever ideas come to mind and see where it leads you.
Yeah.
Like people that excel in, like, let's say, race car driving, or um, baking, or whatever, and just see like what's out there, and what are these people doing, and how are they making their niche work in life.
Yeah.
And then just keep getting closer to it,
Yeah.
talk to people, visit those kind of places. And these are things that you can do while you're still drawing income at the job that you're doing. If you're disillusioned with it, you can always just take 20 minutes, whatever feels like a comfortable amount of time every day, and just say, I'm going to invest it in a possibility of what I could do next.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I really think at the end of the day, we all know the things that we're passionate about. But the voice in our head says, well, I can't do that because I won't make enough money. I can't do that because my parents will be disappointed. I can't do that because my wife won't let me. I mean, there's always that aspect that keeps us from running at what it is that we really want to do. And you have to give yourself the grace to explore what it is that really lights you up, and have the courage to say, if you do discover something you want to do, I'm going to run at it
Yeah.
and give it a shot.
Yeah.
And it's going to be scary as hell, but I think the more information that you gather, the more people you talk to, the more opportunities will present themselves to you. You never know who might need exactly what you got going on if you don't put yourself out there, and not necessarily in an interview fashion, but just in an information seeking kind of a thing. Like, have coffee with as many people as you can that are in an area that you're interested in.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of fun ways to go about doing it that don't feel tedious and like searching for jobs on the internet and
Yeah.
applying for them just to see which ones you can get, which I think is inherently flawed. So And you
Yeah.
got to start with you and what you love first.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
And I think that there's the illusion of time is hard to comprehend when you're looking at that stuff because it'll take longer than you want, but it also go a lot faster than you think.
Yep.
And it also, I think that people put boundaries on what's possible within that. And in an ironic sense, when I was sitting on your porch that summer, I read a book called Ignite the Fire, and it was like the first book I ever read about how to build a business around personal training. And
Mm-hmm.
I just did a podcast with the author, and I'm sharing a stage with
Oh,
him in Chicago. And it's like this interesting, like again, I would have never thought, not that I've gotten to some exorbitant heights on this in this career, but the fact that like I'm now talking with and sharing, and I'm friends with this guy who wrote this book that I read 13 years ago. It is
mm-hmm.
a little bit of a like back then I would have been like, yeah, I'm never like that's not going to happen. I'm going to
Right.
flounder my way through this and make whatever I'm going to make. And I think I had a lot of limitations. I knew I was going to do it out of passion, but to have a career out of it, I don't think I ever really figured it was possible because I just, again, put those limitations on myself. But
Mm-hmm.
through just consistent effort and learning and having the growth mindset, I think it's been turned into something I would have probably never thought possible. So,
And I think this is always the biggest indicator of job satisfaction or career satisfaction is no matter what shows up, you can't stop yourself from pursuing it
yeah,
anyways.
yeah,
And I do see, and it's a whole different feeling than you felt when you were at Paychecks.
yeah,
I mean, it's there are moments that are tough. There, you struggle, you worry, but you're doing it because of how you want to deliver what it is that you can do and what you can offer. And I always say at the end of the day, the biggest reward is how you are going to enhance somebody else's life by the work that you do. And I
hmm
think that is a big motivator for you on
yeah,
all at levels of what you do.
yeah, yeah. I think a good framework for people too is, and as an example for me is like, what would you do if you had all the time in the world? And for me, like I still do love learning about fitness. Like I would just
Yeah.
go, I would show back up at the gym and probably start helping people do whatever it was that they were doing and showing them different stuff. And I think that's a good lesson for people to understand is, or again, a good framework for people to look at is like, okay, well, if you had all the time in the world,
Yes.
or if you won the lot, I think we used to ask me this, like if you won the lottery, what would you do after you'd celebrate for a while, but eventually you're going to get bored. Like you can't just,
Yeah.
those heights will come down after a while and then you're probably going to get bored. Like what would you do then if there was no time, if there was no financial constraints on what you needed to earn? Like what would you spend your time doing?
Right.
And then I think there's probably a way to make a career or make an income from whatever it is that you would like to be doing with that
Yep.
newfound free time.
100%. And and I think that um, we all have things that just naturally interest us, and we can't learn enough about it. I mean, I have so many books that I have not read yet, but I still want to,
Yeah.
because I can't stop learning about it. And
Yeah.
and I think about when I was doing my school counseling program, my master's program, they gave us a list of, the books that we had to read and the courses we had to take. And there was zero self-directedness in that
Mm.
program. So, it's like I would just go through I just go through the classes and the coursework, and to be a master in what I was learning was furthest from what I really wanted to do.
Yeah.
And then when I became a life coach and discovered that they so strongly encourage you to follow mentors that you're so fascinated by, or so interested in, or you so believe what they have to say, that's when my hunger for learning went off the charts.
Yeah.
And I think everybody's got that, but we've lived our educational lives so structured by this is what it has to look like.
Yeah.
in order for you to be good at, well, I don't know anybody that could say that every course that they took for a bachelor's or a master's degree have applied any of it
Yeah.
or all of it. But it's so much different when you get to pick because you started yourself down a path that is engaging and satisfying.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And Jen's done the same thing. So it's like when I love that both of you and that both of you guys what you guys do is so interwoven together. It's a really beautiful combination.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. That's the stuff we were talking about on your stupid porch. Like, we were like, it's what we wanted, but we just didn't feel like we knew what the first step was or how to do it or how to make it make any sort of financial sense. And here we are. So
Yeah, and you're doing it. And yeah, like, where would you be now if you had stayed with paychecks right now? I mean,
don't know.
whole different life.
Yeah, that's a good question. I have no idea.
Yeah, I don't think you'd be standing on stages with people that you admire.
Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe some sort of Narcotics Anonymous or something to have gotten through the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I think you guys made a brilliant decision.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
and thanks for
and
all your help.
I notice I know so many of the people at the gym and different experiences that they really are so grateful because of the path that you took. And again, like I said, if you can make other people's lives better because of what you do, that's a huge paycheck that you get that you can't even, you can't cash it at the store and buy anything, but you can certainly feel it, and it's so rewarding.
Well, thanks. Yeah, next time those people say those, you can take all the credit because without you, it wouldn't have happened. So you should actually just say, well, as a matter of fact,
That's all you. How much time do you have? I'm going to sit down and let's talk about this.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, cool. I think that's a good place to end.
Yeah.
Thanks for doing this, Mom. This is a good story to get out there and good chat with you.
Yeah.
This digital format. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Cool.
All right.
All right.
Thank you so much.
See you, Mom.
Bye.
Oh, wait, hold on. How can people get a hold of you? Sorry. I always want to. So how do people find you after this conversation?
It's Lissa, Lissa, at nowisyourlife.com.
Cool.
That's
awesome.
Me. Okay.
Awesome. Or at the gym.
Sorry, or at the gym.
Or they'll find you at the gym.
At 8 a.m.
Yeah.
There I am.
All right, Mom.
Yeah. Thanks so much. Such a pleasure.
Yeah.
Okay. Bye.
All right. Thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed that. I feel pretty fortunate, like I said in the intro, to have had that experience, to have that mom. So yeah, thanks for listening. And if you are ready to get started on your fitness journey, reach out to us at sandpointstrength.com or Kenny at Sandpoint Strength, and I'd be happy to point you in the right direction. Also, don't forget, we are brought to you by Momentous Supplements. You can get 15% off your next order at livemomentous.com by using the discount code SandpointStrength, all one word.